The digestive health personal checklist every back pain sufferer needs on their side, part 2. Hi, and welcome everybody. It's Jason Barlow, RMT. I'm here today as your therapist and as your coach to help you transform that stress, tension, and pain into health, happiness, and vitality instead. Thank you for your patience yesterday, those of you watching on Instagram. I don't know what happened. This is part of the reason why I like to do the selfie view, but I had quite a few people feedback, hey, when you do the selfie view on Instagram, everything's in reverse. The writing on your shirt, if you show us books, we can't read them properly. So I decided that therefore I will do the normal camera view, which means I can't see it, but you get everything the right way around if you're watching on Instagram. But for some reason yesterday, I'd clicked the camera, so it ended up then doing the selfie view. And you got to listen to me, which is great and well done. If you had the patience to go, you know what? He's still got some good things he wants to say that I want to listen to it. Awesome. Thanks for sticking it out. But you got the view of my couch instead. Improvise, adapt, and overcome is what I say. Okay, so do you remember 2 weeks ago, I was sharing with you one of my favorite exercises called the breathing squat. I was teaching you the premise of why this is such a beneficial movement and exercise, simply from the point of view as we don't use that range of motion. We sit down on the chairs, we sit in the vehicle, we sit at the office, we sit on the toilet. Rarely do we go down deeply into a full squat. So when I challenge people to do that, they can't keep their feet flat, they're imbalanced, their knees don't allow it, their hips have no mobility. The bottom line is, as I was sharing my story 2 weeks ago, is when I went to France as a young boy with my parents and I went to the washroom, there was no toilet to sit on. I had to squat down and take care of business. And that's actually one of the healthiest ways to take a good bowel movement because it's massaging the viscera, your organs. It's actually assisting the elimination of waste from your body. So this exercise is very, very powerful, but only if you do it. Like everything else that I'm sharing with you, great to listen to it, awesome. But I want to hear from you if you're actually taking it away and applying it. Thank you for listening, but I want to know if you're listening and following through. So leave some comments, leave some feedback. That really helps me to know that there's actually people out there. Okay, so let's dive into then more specifically in this part 2. I wanted to go through a simple home test you could do to help understand a little bit more about digestive health. Quickly as I can. If you want to read more about it, just go down below in the description. There's actually a link which gives you the blog article that I wrote last year. It allows you to dive in deeper and review what I'm sharing with you today. So this home test, it's called the beet test. You just need to buy yourself some beetroot, and then you just need to implement that into your diet. Like you put it into one meal essentially. And then you're going to make a note. You're going to make a note of when you ate that meal with those beets in them. Then you're going to make a note of when it first shows up in your bowel movement. Your next bowel movement should maybe illustrate that coloration change to a purple, beets, and so forth. So make a note of that date and that time. Then the last time that it shows up in your last bowel movement that it has this coloration, make note of that date and that time. Now you might be writing a few down, that's fine, but the very last time it shows up is the one that we're interested in. And it's going to tell us two things. The first time that you noted down, date and time, is going to tell us what's called transit time. How quickly does the food travel from mouth to anus? Now, if it's traveling too fast, that's not healthy. And if it's traveling too slow, that's not healthy. Guess what? We're trying to find that middle way once again. We're trying to find that sweet spot between it being too fast, taken in and eliminated, and too slow, taken in, housed for way too long, which means the body is kind of sluggish, the digestive system is not efficient, and then eventually it does eliminate, but that time is extensive, it's too long. So that's what we call transit time. Then that other measurement that you've got, the date and the time, the last time that beet coloration or beets show up in your bowel movement, in your poop, is what's called retention time. How long is that food substance remaining in your body before it's completely extracted, assimilated, dealt with, and then eliminated out? And that's why beets are very good, because they show themselves very clearly in a bowel movement. So I want you to consider that as a test that you can do, very simple to implement. All you need to do is go buy yourself some beetroot. And it could even be the pickled stuff if you want to go down that pathway. Read that more on my blog post, which is in the description below. So I just wanted to mention that to you because that can be very valuable information to you as much as to your therapist, your clinician, naturopathic doctor, anybody that might be supporting your health currently. Remember, my goal is to help you achieve more health, happiness, and vitality, and our inner organs are a big part of that process. So getting that running more efficiently and helping you to assimilate more nutrients from your foods is therefore affecting the quality and delivery of the essential materials that you need within those tiny cells, of which you've got trillions of them. So we've got to get efficient in our digestive system. It's like Amazon. Most people shop on Amazon these days. Imagine there are a number of people shopping on Amazon now, but they don't have the distribution lines, they don't have the establishments, and they don't have the delivery people doing their job efficiently. There's going to be a huge backup and a lot of complaints. The same happens in our body. We can get this backup, and our complaints from our body is signs and symptoms of pathologies, disease, viruses, poor immune system, low energy, sleeping lots, fatigue, poor mental function, cloudiness, fogginess, irritability. I mean, we could go on, all right? Think of any sign or symptom. If essentially you're not experiencing health, happiness, and vitality, potentially there's a symptom arising. And the quicker you can address that symptom, the more you can restore yourself back to health, happiness, and vitality. And this is a constant cycle. It would be great if we could just eat one meal. That's it for life. But we know we need food. We want food. We seek food. And so therefore, what we do from this point forward is most important. What's gone in the past is done. We cannot change it. But what we can do is make a decision from this point. Make yourself a vow. Make yourself a commitment. That's on you. I'm here to educate you, but you got to take this upon yourself. So let's dive into this digestive health personal checklist. Number one, hydration. We do not have the capacity to store water in our body. We are constantly using it for all the processes throughout the body, and metabolism, eyes opening and closing, me chattering away, saliva production, digestion going on in the background, heart's beating, lungs are inflating, deflating. I'm moving my arms, muscles required, joints require, and so on and so forth. It's extensive how much water we're actually utilizing in our body every day, that if we don't take the time to hydrate ourselves every day, there's definitely going to be an impact either right now, medium, or long term. So if you want to mitigate those impacts, those signs and symptoms, get on it. Like, everybody's going to be slightly different how much water you need. You're going to listen to your body. I base it upon activities, temperature, how I go about my day, how dehydrated I was from when I slept last night, the meal that I'd had the night before. There's a lot of factors, right, that I'm taking into consideration, but ultimately I just listen to my body. If I'm going to the bathroom every 20 minutes, then maybe I'm just drinking too much at that point. Now, I should add a caveat to that, because very often people are so dehydrated that when you start to take on more water and your body's not used to it, you're probably going to pass it and you're going to urinate a lot more initially. So don't let that be a sign that you're drinking too much water. So here's what I guide people to, especially if you're not used to drinking high volume of water every day, is give yourself at least 2 to 3 months of following a hydration program. And very simply, I'll say a minimum of 1 liter, upwards of 2 liters, depending upon your body size. And you spread that throughout the day. You actually want to slug more in the morning than later in the day. Why? Because your body's like a sponge in the morning, and especially you don't want to drink so much later in the evening so that you're up through the night continuing to urinate. Your urination should take place mainly throughout the day, and your reservoir should be large enough and tolerant enough that as you fall asleep, you can store that urine so that when you wake up, usually there's a bit of an urge to want to go download and distribute. So you go do that, take care of business. But ultimately, your body is using so much water, you've got to replenish it, because we don't have the capacity to make our own water. We are dependent upon an external source of that. Support your emotional health through regular laughter. Do what you love and loving what you do, and healthy relationships and time for rest and relaxation. This part of your body, your digestive system, is controlled by what's called the enteric nervous system. As a dietitian years ago shared with me, in fact, she was a colonic hydrotherapist and a nutritionist, she was sharing with me that this essentially is our second brain in our body, that we have a large brain up top, and we have a larger brain down below, so to speak. So, when you use that term, use your gut feeling, there's actually a level of science behind that whole concept. That this has the feedback mechanism to share with us when we're feeling nervous and apprehensive, we're unsure, we kind of got those spidey senses going on. That's partly the enteric system working in conjunction with the brain, and maybe some other things beyond that, what goes beyond the scope of today's talk. But essentially what I want you to understand is we got to take care of this part of our body, and usually because we can't see it, we base upon our symptoms to get the feedback. So if we were able to see what we're actually doing, if we were able to get these scopes and so forth and visually see day by day what it is that we're doing to our digestive system, I guarantee you would make some changes. Same with somebody who smokes, right? Who's addicted to smoking. If you were physically seeing what that's actually doing to your body, because projection-wise, you've seen people at the other end of the spectrum when they've spent 60 years smoking, what the deleterious effects of that actually are. We have an idea, but if you were actually seeing instantly, and I think there was a great commercial once when somebody was taking a drag of a cigarette, and as they took the drag, all the long-term effects of smoking were showing up on their faces, like they're wrinkly, and they were gone, and they were sick looking. And what that was illustrating is that then when they breathed out, the smoke was gone. They were restoring back to their youth and vitality. But when they breathed in, the same thing would happen. The cycles back and forth. It was a great, powerful commercial. Stayed in my mind. I'm not even a smoker. But if we had that visualization of what we would actually be looking like, or what we're actually doing at this point in time, guarantee you would change things differently. I mean, if we were walking around half naked most of the time, we would be changing the way that we eat, because we'd be very conscious of how we look and how we appear to others. And we somewhat do anyways, but we put a mask over it, right? We put on our shirts, we put on our pants, we put on our skirts and so forth. But we're able to mask. But you can only mask so much to so much of a degree. Ultimately, where are you at in your body and your level of comfort or, dissatisfaction? Wherever you're at. But if you're dissatisfied, make changes. You will always get what you've always gotten if you continue to do what you've always done. Okay, this list is going to take me longer than I thought. So we're going to do a part 3 and a part 4 likely, because I'm going to finish on this one. And this is a big one. It's a good sleep hygiene. It helps your body regulates its natural circadian rhythms. We all have them. We are what is known as a diurnal being. And then there are nocturnal beings, such as owls, right? And you may say, well, no, I'm nocturnal. Well, maybe you've behaviorally and habitually changed your system that you've become somewhat nocturnal. But for millions of years, we as a species have evolved very much, generally speaking, as a diurnal being, that we are awake during the sun up and we are asleep when the moon and the darkness arises. As the sun is setting, we are going into a rest cycle. And that's the circadian rhythm that I'm referring to. There's a natural cycle, an ebb and a flow of certain hormones in your body that help restore and recover. When you throw that off, which can happen, especially if you're a shift worker working through the night and on call and so forth, we've got to make sure that we're doing appropriate sleep supplementation to assist and get that body back in balance from a physiological standpoint. Now, there's lots of powerful things that you can do with meditation to help restore that cycle also. There are ways that you can meditate to deepen your experience and achieve a sleep-like state, but you are still conscious. But physiologically, the events that take place when you're actually sleeping at night are actually taking place when you're deep in this meditation, achieving what is known as a very subtle state of mind. I'm going to finish at that point. I hope you found a benefit that for you today. Just take away those 3 points. So hydration, get yourself onto regular hydration program. Do that for a minimum of 2 to 3 months, minimum 1 liter, upwards of 2 liters. And I should qualify, you want to be aiming for good quality water. Coffee, 2 liters, not going to cut it. Follow and adhere yourself to a good emotional health program, which involves more happiness, anything that's going to bring more happiness into your life, more laughter, and surrounding yourself with people that love you and support you and nurture you, reading books that inspire you, and attending events online that raise your spirits. Make sure you're getting good time for rest and relaxation in there. And then more formally, your good sleep hygiene and getting that sleep quota that you need. How much? It's going to be vary per person. Some can be mixed minimum 6 hours. And some people, teenagers, they need more like 10, 11 hours, sometimes even longer, as we're finding now with our four teenage boys. Anyway, it's time for me to zip it. Thank you very much for joining me if you've been live. If not, and you're listening to this later on, thank you. I appreciate it. Make sure you comment, share any feedback. Also, be sure to share this with your friends, your family, your loved ones who you feel might benefit from this information. And lastly, I will say, if you've not done it, go get my free book whilst you still can, the 15-Step Playbook for Pain Relief, available at jasonbarlowrmt.com. Done. Drop the mic. Take care. Bye-bye.